Now, the multi-Tony and Olivier award-winning musical Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I is returning by popular demand. It's returning back to Belfast as well. It plays the Grand Opera House between the 20th and 24th of June. And I'm pleased to say one of the cast joins us now on the line. It's Darren Lee. Darren, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Rowan?
Very well, thank you. So are you looking forward to coming to Belfast then?
Oh, I'm very excited. One of the things that has been really exciting about doing this tour for me is that I'm visiting places that I've never been before, and so I'm just excited to see what Belfast has to offer.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing you as well. It's a big show, The King and I, as well, and of course the role that you're playing is a pretty iconic role, isn't it?
Yes. So it's a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. It's a big, beautiful classic show with lavish sets and costumes, directed by Bartlett Sher. And I have the pleasure of playing the King of Siam.
Excellent. So it's always been on your bucket list to play right from a very early age.
I think I'm from Southern California, and I spent a good portion of my career in Broadway theater, and I think that the King and I, or the role of the King, is I think, being an Asian American performer, I think it would be kind of silly not to at some point maybe aspire to be able to play the role. And so I'm really thankful that I'm having this opportunity and I get to inhabit it.
What about The King and I? I mean, it's been around for many years now. Do you think it's still extremely relevant today?
I really do. I think that something that's very interesting about a lot of Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals is that the subject matter is sort of timeless. You know, The King and I is about a ruler who is the sort of ultimate ruler of his country, but he realizes that things have to change. He realizes that surrounding powers are trying to take over his country. And so, in an attempt to stay relevant, he brings over a British school teacher to teach his children. In doing so, I think that he has to learn a lot about himself, a lot about his country, a lot about the school teacher, and it's very challenging. And I think that there's something really relevant about this idea of about that a ruler of a country understands that to be able to stay relevant or be able to move into the future, that they have to adapt.
Of course, it is a massive tour for you as well, with a massive show. I mean, there's a big cast in it, big costumes, big everything, isn't it?
It's absolutely, it's really lavish, it's really beautiful for those who are new to musicals, or those that are really drawn to a classic story. I think that this production really does give you everything that you ever hoped for, as far as visual impact, as far as gorgeous costumes. The scenery is really stunning. The cast is really, really wonderful, and it's been a delight to work with these people.
You mentioned earlier the other stuff you've done on Broadway. I mean, you've done plenty of these revival shows as well. You've done Guys and Dolls, you've done Chicago as well, haven't you?
Yes, that's correct. So it's interesting, like that, when you have the opportunity to work on Broadway, that I think a good portion of your career sort of is balanced between new works and revivals. And so it's always really interesting to see what a new creative team can bring to a show. And it's definitely been some of the most satisfying work that I've been able to do. Of course, new work is really exciting, but it's really great when you get a team together that can bring to life a revival of a show. It just feels like you're paying homage to the original and reinventing it at the same time.
And you're also in the movie of Chicago as well, weren't you?
That is correct. So Chicago has been a part of my life for quite a while. I've been very fortunate. I was in the Broadway company. I was in the national tour. I was in the Vegas company with Chita Rivera and Ben Vereen. And I also was in the Academy Award-winning feature film with Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Brilliant. Now, as well as performing on stage as an actor and performer, you love to do the choreography and directing as well, don't you?
Absolutely. I've always been drawn to the creative side of what I get to do. And so I've had this really wonderful opportunity to learn from and witness and work with a lot of really amazing mentors. And so as soon as I was sort of able to, or given opportunities to work creatively, I sort of tried to embrace those opportunities. And so I feel very fortunate that at this point in my career that I sort of balance between both. I get to play the King of Siam, and I get to take a break, every now and then, and do something creative. So it's really the best of both worlds.
You're performing from quite an early age. I think you made your dancing debut at the age of 11, didn't you?
That is correct. My dance teacher and my parents sent a VHS tape to a television show called Star Search, and I was the junior Star Search grand champion. This was in 1984.
And did you come from a family who are in show business?
I'm not directly in show business. My father actually dabbled a little bit in Chinese opera, but I grew up in the 70s, sort of the disco era, and I think I was really lucky to see that my parents sort of took on disco dancing as a hobby. And so in my living room, I remember sort of seeing them, hearing this sort of disco music and seeing my parents connect over this sort of rhythm and this sort of style of music. And I think it had a big impact on me. I think it was very healthy to be able to see my parents interact in that way. And I think that it lent to so a little bit of the resilience I think that I have and outlook on how music and theater and people interact.
You ended up dancing with people like Paula Abdul and Elton John as well, didn't you?
That is correct. So it was I moved to Broadway. I was lucky enough to be cast in a Broadway show my senior year in high school. And so I moved right to New York City and I was dancing in a Broadway show. And at that time, there was a series of Diet Coke commercials that were featuring different celebrities. And so I was in one of the commercials with Paula Abdul, and I was also in a commercial with Elton John.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, you also worked with the brilliant Julie Andrews on Victor Victoria. That must have been a dream come true.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things that I think people hope, I mean, Julie Andrews, she's just a wonderful, wonderful person and just extraordinary. And this idea that you hope that your celebrities or people that you see in the movies are as wonderful as you hope they are. Julie Andrews lives up to all of that. She was absolutely delightful. She was so warm to the company. She was really part of the company. And it was just an extraordinary experience. I'm very, very thankful for it.
Now, here in Belfast in Northern Ireland, we have a big musical theatre following, lots of musical theatre companies here as well. So what kind of advice would you give to any young performers out there who are just starting off on their journey? Maybe you want to be, say, where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, I think the advice would be that you don't have to worry that there is just one single path. I know that my path to being in musical theater was much different than other people. I didn't necessarily go to university or conservatory. Of course, those are wonderful paths for certain people. I think the other thing to really think about is that you are an individual. And I think that sometimes we think that when you walk in the room, oh, I'm auditioning for this role, so I have to be this shape and this size and this particular voice type. When the reality is, I think the people that succeed the most are the ones that understand exactly who they are as an individual and what they have to offer and what makes them unique, and not so they don't try to fit into a mold. They actually go in and walk in there and are a completely individual, fully developed person. And that's what helps to inhabit the roles.
Brilliant. So the King and I comes to the Grand Opera House here in Belfast from the 20th until the 24th of June. Is there a favorite part of the show that you have?
I mean, I have many parts of the show that I think are wonderful. The ballet and the second act, I think, is extraordinary, and also the Shall We Dance sequence, which is sort of the culmination of the relationship between sort of these two friends. And I think that it seems like a very simple little ditty of a song, Shall We Dance? But in reality, when you're thinking of politics and you're thinking of different powers, asking each other whether or not you can come together and have one swirling moment of unity is really a challenge that I think we deal with today.
Well, Darren, we look forward to seeing you in Belfast, and we look forward to seeing the King and I as well. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Likewise. Take care.